but then it just like collapses into like sugar nugget, which sticks to your teeth. So again, I should probably go to the dentist anyway. So.
If dentists are watching us, they'll be like, oh no.
Maybe we can get some like sponsorship from the ADA or something.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Chemists in the Kitchen. Today we'll be making a honeycomb candy. And I'm excited because I've never done this before. This recipe is very simple. There's like 4 ingredients and we're swapping out one of them. Is possible that we're gonna have, varying results with our candy. My name is Daisy Rosas and I am a chemist and soil scientist.
My name is Kevin Aptowicz and I'm a professor at Westchester University.
I'm Joan Walker and I'm a conservation scientist in Washington, D.C.
The recipe today for the honeycomb candy is pretty straightforward. It's pretty easy. We're gonna be using a lot of granulated sugar. Okay, here's the portion. All right, so a decent amount. About a tablespoon of baking soda. That's gonna be critical to creating the foam. A little bit of salt for taste. Water to get things started and to help dissolve and mix things up, but we're actually gonna boil that off later. And then each of us has a different ingredient that we're gonna add to our recipe. Mine is maple syrup.
I'm going to be using honey.
And I will be the control for this experiment, and I will be using golden syrup.
So when you think about substituting out an ingredient, you often think about taste, and that's natural, and there will probably be an impact on taste. But what I'm more interested in is the impact on structure. So my ingredient, maple syrup, for example, has a lot of what's called sucrose in it, which is table sugar. And the problem that I face with using maple syrup is that sugar can crystallize. When you eat it, it has that grainy taste to it.
It's really common in candy making that you're using sucrose, so table sugar, as your main sugar source. And sucrose is actually comprised of 2 smaller, thank you. I knew someone would have a visual aid, so Daisy's
nice,
on
Daisy.
it, I knew that. It's actually composed of 2 smaller sugar molecules, glucose and fructose. As we have illustrated so elegantly for us in beautiful colors as well.
The golden syrup is special because it is an exact 1-to-1 ratio of glucose and fructose.
Other kinds of sugar sources have different ratios of sucrose or these smaller components, what we call monosaccharides in them. And so with honey, it's mostly the monosaccharides of the fructose and the glucose. And so even though we think of them all as sugars in the big sense of they all have this really common sort of ring structure with different OH groups on them, they actually are all slightly different chemically. And so the reason why candy makers use something that has a lot of the monosaccharides in it, like glucose, is to prevent that crystallization.
We're gonna try to make this honeycomb candy. And part of our goal in general when making this recipe is to avoid this crystallization, because just as we talked about, it leads to this graininess. Okay, so if it's not crystallizing, and by crystals we mean these like really nice ordered periodic lattice of molecules, then what does form?
That's a really good question. Yeah, I guess you would get something more like an amorphous solid. It's going to be all of these molecules kind of jumbled up together and not forming that, again, nice rigid crystal structure that we think about. That's my guess.
Then thinking about it, just trying to do an analogy, because these are amorphous and crystalline are kind of are jargony words. I think about the drawer of my dresser. And the way that my t-shirts are all lined up neatly stacked, and I got my white t-shirts, I got my heavy use t-shirts, my less used t-shirts are in stacks. So that's my crystalline structure, right? Everything is periodic. And then I go into my kids' room and I open up their drawer and it's everything shoved everywhere. Nothing is folded.
Sounds like my t-shirts.
It's just randomly everywhere.
Like my workout t-shirts are really just jumbled
Or Daisy's
in.
t-shirts. All right, so we'll get started.
So I'm gonna kick this off. I've got my burner going, pot on the stove. I'm adding a little bit of water, so that's a solvent for our reaction, just to get everything kind of in solution. And then I'm adding, about half a cup of water.
And then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna add my mystery ingredient, which for me is the maple syrup. And I'm adding 165 grams. I just weighed it out of maple syrup.
So I'm adding half a cup of golden syrup.
And I am adding a half a cup of honey.
The ingredients here are simple, but there is a special item that's pretty critical to have, and that's the thermometer.
Thermometer.
You want some way to measure temperature. But temperature here plays a much more important role, and temperature in candy making in general plays a really important role, and it's not for flavor. It turns out the temperature at which sugar mixed with water boils at depends upon sugar concentration. So when we reach go zone at 300, then all we do is we add baking soda. And so I was a little confused because when I was making my volcano, I always added some acid, right? Vinegar with baking soda to make things erupt. Right? But it seems like in this recipe, we don't, acid
is not important in this recipe. And which again, most of us have some experience of having baking soda and having some acid, lemon juice or vinegar, and making that reaction happen. But in this case, our sugar syrup is so hot at 300 degrees Fahrenheit that as soon as that baking soda, which we call sodium bicarbonate, hits that hot solution, it's going to thermally decompose into sodium carbonate, water, and carbon dioxide. So that carbon dioxide is, visual aids, always.
Oh my gosh, Daisy.
Amazing.
Daisy is always in the go zone.
She's always ready.
Daisy just lives in the go zone.
She's always ready, and I love that.
Yeah, I'm go. I'm in the go zone, everyone.
Go.
I've reached it.
Very rarely do, people who aren't, law enforcement get to go, 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 go.
All right, so I got my whisk.
Bubbles are popping.
That's really impressive. Oh, see, we get the great shot from Kevin.
Oh, nice.
Really impressive whisking. Nice pour. That's amazing.
Thanks.
Whoa, it's so poofy.
Whoa, that is some foaming. Oh my goodness. Oh, okay. That's all right. It's okay. It's okay, everybody. This is what we were trying to avoid. Damn. Oh, well.
Oh, no, now it's deflating.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Interesting, yeah, because I think in the recipe it said like a 9-inch square pan.
So mine, whoops, falling apart.
Literally.
Mine, yes, mine crystalline really quickly set. So it really quickly set.
Yep.
It also deflated in the middle. It formed these large cracks as it kind of shrunk.
That's crazy.
And let's see if I can even, now it's so fragile, it's hard to take out. Yeah, it's falling apart. Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Whoa, yeah. So it really has a different color on the inside.
Can you bring it closer to the camera?
Like toffee
I
color?
want to see like the,
Yes.
if you can.
Jeez.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's crazy.
There's like no, it's like croissant style. That's what it reminds me
Yeah,
of.
it looks very, yeah, it definitely looks like it has layers to it.
And it's very open, airy structure.
So that's what my structure looks like. And just a reminder that my secret ingredient was the maple syrup.
Yeah, mine is pretty uneven looking, which is it's a little unappetizing maybe. You can hear that. It's kind of ready to crack, I think. So
yeah, mine deflated maybe like 25%. This is what it looks like now.
like it sounds very crunchy over here when I am cutting through with my knife. It sounds very crunchy. It's here.
Oh, very crunchy.
Yeah. Here's like kind of a piece of mine.
Oh, that looks awesome.
But yeah, so pretty even. Again, nice, pretty golden color. But I think that's both from the honey, and then I think my sugar did start to caramelize a little bit because I think it kind of got away from me a little bit.
How would you compare it to the texture of like bread? If you were to cut open a loaf of bread and looked at the texture, does it look like the air pockets are about the same?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really good analogy. I would say it's much like a sandwich
Yes.
bread, like a nice sandwich loaf, but you know, pretty even, small holes.
This is what I'm getting.
Yeah, there's a fair number of pockets. Yeah, that looks awesome.
It's like kind of a little bit, it's just a sticky situation here is what we have. So oh, sorry, I'm eating. Have you guys tasted yours yet? Does it taste any good?
Couldn't resist.
It's sticky.
Yeah. It does get a little sticky.
I'm not a fan of
to your teeth there a
stuff
little bit.
sticking to my teeth.
Mine just melts in my mouth.
Ooh.
It just falls apart.
Is it like,
Yeah. It's like, it's like, what is the one with egg whites?
oh.
Like a meringue?
So it's that sort of, if you make it right,
Yeah.
you know how meringue poof, gone. That's
Yeah.
the way this is. It's just gone.
Oh, wonderful. This is really fascinating. I had no idea.
There is
this is what happened.
maybe
Like,
it's the maple,
yeah.
maybe it's the toffee, but there's definitely, it doesn't taste like just sweet.
The salt,
Right,
I
there's definitely-
can taste the salt. It's
Yeah.
it's not like your standard sugar. I feel like something else, definitely.
It is definitely more like a toffee kind of consistency, but then like, and so when you first bite down on it, it's very like light and airy and sort of,
Yeah.
you know, kind of this crunchiness. But then it just like collapses
Yeah.
into like sugar
Yeah.
nugget, which sticks to your teeth. So again, I should probably go to the dentist anyway. So.
And then, I don't know if you can see these,
Oh.
Oh, look at
Yes.
you.
but
Fancy.
yeah, then I just dip them in chocolate. And so
Oh, I bet that's good though.
supposedly if you dip them in chocolate, that also helps. Sorry, I should talk from down here, not with half of my head cut off. But if you dip them with chocolate, that also helps preserve
Yeah.
them for longer, right? Because I guess because it's sealing them off from the water that's in the air.
Yeah. No, chocolate is definitely my favorite sealant. Like, you know, you just put a layer of chocolate on it, it's gonna seal that surface. You're good.
Awesome. Well, this was a lot of fun.
What did we learn today? Like, we all used, you know, not our mystery ingredient, but our like optional ingredient besides golden syrup, which I was like the control. Obviously, the control works, and it's like good. It didn't, you know, it formed these really nice honeycomb structures. Yeah, it's still sticky, so maybe like if I let it cool down a little bit more, you know, I can actually like dig in better. And it looks like from what Joan had that the honey is not a super bad alternative, right?
Yeah, it's pretty similar. Yeah, so it kind of makes sense that it just has a slightly different ratios of those simple sugars that we were talking about. And also, you know, can give your dentist something to work on later. So
For mine, cue Daisy, I mostly have sucrose as the sugar that's in my solution. And so sucrose can crystallize very easily. And so using maple syrup totally transformed the structure, right? Not just the taste, but now the structure is completely different. It's set much faster, it's crumbly, it's dry, it's not sticky at all. And that's all because of using sucrose instead of those inverted sugars.
Yeah, it was tasty.
yeah, no, thank you so much for joining us today. And Kevin, Daisy, always a pleasure to see you. And thank you for kind of being my witnesses to this candy making adventure. I think it would have gone very differently had I been alone in my kitchen doing this. So it's always more fun to cook with friends. And I'm glad that we got to do this a little bit on our candy making honeycomb adventure today.
Yeah, thank you all for joining us. I had a great time, Daisy and Joan, as always. A pleasure to hang out with you all, and cooking with friends is a lot of fun. So look forward to seeing everyone next time on Chemists in the Kitchen.